income for a lot of young people who are content creators. And therefore, it gives me a lot of pleasure to welcome Caroline Mutuco, Chief Marketing Officer for Radio Africa Group, to lead the Wowzi Founders Journey discussion. Welcome to the stage, Caroline. Please, a round of applause to Caroline.
Thank you ever so much. Good morning. Oh gosh, it's really nice to see you from here. Sitting over there, I had no idea what was going on. My name is Caroline Motoko, and I am the godmother of influencers, I believe. 7 years ago this September, I got off my radio show, and those of you who are 92 years old like me but drink a lot of water, were sitting there saying, where is she going? I was going to the future. I was going to do what we now celebrate today as an amazing gig economy, but I didn't know that was what it was. The three gentlemen who are about to join me here on stage are fascinating, interesting, but also incredibly bold. And I think their mission is to wowsy the world, and I need to tell you here now, I've signed up for that. But I need to tell you about my first encounter with Wowzi, therefore I can ask the questions I need to ask to my panelists. So I'm going to ask Dr. Bashir Hassan to join me on stage and take his seat. I'm going to be asking Brian Moganyi to do the same. And I'm going to be asking the ever-smiling Mike to do the same. A very, very interesting, pick a seat, I will pick the one you don't take. I'm not quite sure why they gave me a seat, to be honest. So on the 24th of July this year, I was out with my children, and I get a call. And when you work for yourself, hello, gig economy, you take calls, it doesn't matter what you're doing. And there was a small voice that says, hi, is this Caroline? My name is Victoria. Is she here? I'm calling you from Wowzi. So first and foremost, she's got a small voice, and then she says she's calling from a company called Wowzi. And I'm thinking, cute. There must be about 5 of them sitting somewhere, and they want me to do something. And I said, yes. She said, I've got a brief from Absa. And I said, okay. And I need you to respond to it. I said, send it, and I'll make sure I speak to you by 6 p.m. And I told her, send me only the 2 slides I need. And she did. And I looked at it, and I put something together. But the next day, Sunday morning at 9:20, she texted to know where my proposal was. I asked her, Victoria, is somebody's Absa making a decision on Sunday morning on this? So the first thing I learned, number 1, Wowzi is high octane and working very hard. So I'm going to actually start with Mike. I will ask you the question I asked myself that day when Victoria's on the phone. Who is Wowzi? Is his microphone on? All mics on, please.
I think it's perfect, yeah.
That is on, but there we go. Super. So, who or what is Wowzi? Because that was going through my head as Victoria spoke.
Awesome. So yeah, Wowzi is the platform that makes everyone an influencer. As we've seen on the video, we've organized all these unique communities, from moms to gym instructors to border riders to celebrities. And they're now able to leverage their social capital.
Call me a celebrity one more time, Taenda. Okay. So this is where, my mic is not working. No, don't worry. I'll go back to my podium. So he's actually said everybody can be in an influencer, including a border rider. And I'm sure there are people thinking, Jama is not serious. But I know Brian, on the other hand, believes influencers are nothing new. Yes, I've been stalking you on social media, as one would. What do you mean influencers are nothing new? We're cool. We're the new thing.
I think if you look at history, if you go back, and I think even before we go back, I'd like to start with us in the room. I think people are connecting on these different tables today. You're exchanging messages, perspectives, and one way or another, you will influence each other. I think right in the room above, we were talking about solar panels. I'm very confident Honorable Guled will probably invest in that. So people have a natural need to share. People trust people like I, and that's actually the real concept of influence. But if you do go back, centuries, maybe even to the days of Napoleon, if he wanted to go to war, he would use the playwrights.
Okay.
Come back to the 70s when VW launched that van. For some of the millennials might call it the Scooby-Doo van.
Okay.
It was being sponsored by Muhammad Ali. And come to today, in the onset of digital, all of that capability is pretty much possible at the palm of our hands. So influencing, it's pretty much a human thing that has always existed, and we're looking how can we create jobs through that. Yeah.
I want to get to Dr. Bashir in a moment, but I want to go back to Mike so he can try and break down what you just said about the fact that influencing is nothing new. So Mike, let me put it this way. If I'm to believe Brian, then Jesus was an influencer. Who were his nanos? No, because but the problem is sometimes the tech terms we use are very big. So there's nanos and micros and macro influencers, and I'm trying to think. Then he was a macro.
Yeah. So Jesus was a premium influencer. So, top tier.
Your mother will be proud.
And he recruited, 12 other micros who spread his message. And what we found is, you might remember the rocket ship I showed you for Wowzi. Mm-hmm. The best campaigns actually leverage both tiers. So we see you get Caroline to, launch a big campaign, and then you have 1,500 people following him. A good example is, I remember a campaign we did with our Dentsu team, Phantom X, and it had Jeff Koinange, but it had 1,000 other people.
Was that you?
Yes.
Well done, Wowzi.
Yeah. So,
I didn't know it was you. Well done.
And it had 1,000 other people supporting the campaign to help it surge or trend. And I remember meeting Jeff, and he was like, I was wondering why we were trending every day, because I did my first post and, that was it. Then I explained to him that behind you was a force of 1,000 other people who also participated in the campaign.
Okay.
So that's Wowzi. It's a very human story. It's connecting all different tiers, and irrespective of the message you're spreading, whether it's the gospel or you're trying to sell a Coke, you can leverage these messengers to make it surge, to make it reach places which were otherwise very difficult to reach.
Fantastic. That was a great answer. Now you know who your nanos are. In his world, the disciples were micros, and then we went on to the nanos. But he was a premium influencer. Yes. I like that. Dr. Bashir, every time I meet you, I'm fascinated to see you with these two. Not that they are bad people, but because I appreciate that this has never been your space, not the digital space, not nanos. I mean, you probably started saying that language. You probably heard about a nano the first time you met these two, right? Of all the things you could get involved in, Wowzi. Of all the things, what made you think this was a good idea?
I thought this was a great idea because it was answering a need in the market that was not answering.
Which was the need?
Which was to scale up on a continental global level, an idea that was already cooking at the street level. Yeah, influencing was happening at the individual level.
True.
A lot of companies were using influencers, but they were using at the capacity of their supervision, their staff.
True.
You pick one, you pick another one, you look at their handles, you try to understand, follow them, that you make sure that they do this. So basically what Wowzi offered and what I saw value in is the ability to scale that on an institutional level in a systemized way. So basically, Wowzi is aggregating and institutionalizing and revolutionizing an industry that was disaggregated, existed but disaggregated.
Okay.
So because you are an influencer, a very big influencer in Africa, in the globe, anyone could call you, but My capacity to work with you is dependent on my ability to pick on you and a few others.
True.
Wowzi can do that at million level for one campaign. That is the scale that excited me.
Okay, so I hope you're understanding what's happening here. So he's structure, he's a straight guy. And then Brian is the, we can do this, let's keep going. Doesn't matter, it's all right, it's 4 a.m., let's keep going. And Mike is, yeah, but I have an idea. And I could be wrong, but is that how it really works? You're very energetic. I mean, you believe that nothing is impossible. If it's impossible, you haven't tried it yet. So I need to know, where does Brian meet Mike and then create Wowzi? Now that I know in my head, and I'll still come to that, where Dr. Bashir comes in. Brian meets Mike how?
So, yeah, I think Mr. Gatende is here. If he could raise his hand. That's how me and Mike met.
Okay.
He's actually a mutual mentor to both Mike and I.
I see. Uh-huh.
And about 4 years back, I would meet him, he would talk about Mike, and then he would meet Mike and talk about me. Then eventually, he invited us for dinner with 3 of his daughters. I haven't told him that story yet from this side. But he invited us for dinner with 3 of his daughters. We didn't know they were going to be there. There's myself, Mike, and 2 other gentlemen. And I think we were doing all right. We're doing all right. We're in the right lane. So we're looking at this. Is this a test? Is he trying to show his daughters this is the direction? Or is he trying to test us? But all in all, it was a fantastic dinner. And after me meeting Mike, I actually felt like I knew him because I had heard so much about him.
Okay.
So we kicked it right off. And then from there onwards, we started doing 1 or 2 things and then eventually connected also with Dr. Bashir and moved on.
So, Mike, from what I understand, Wowzi was brought to life during COVID. Why didn't you, like most people, think, let's see how things go, or as we used to say in 2020, wacha tuone vile kitu itaenda, and then we can decide on Wowzi?
I mean, we were very bold. I think a few months before COVID, we went for a vacation in Watamu.
The stories of these guys, dinner with daughters, vacations in Watamu, not what I was ready for.
So we have a culture of whenever we are doing a huge milestone as a company, we take everyone to a place where it's a vacation. So we are strategizing at the same time, just talking about the future. And one thing that stood out was a gentleman called Ochi Grande. He was our guide. He was our fisherman guide, taking us through, Watamu, showing us around, etc., etc. I think Brian said something insightful. That one day, what we are actually doing is we'll get a job for Ochi Grande to work with Hemingways. He will be creating content and making money, right? And I can see Carol and Candy here. Eventually, Ochi Grande is one of the nano-influencers for Safaricom. He creates content in the middle of the sea, right?
Is this true?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so for us, understanding why we were doing this meant nothing could stop us, not even COVID. So we went ahead.
That's profound. Tweet that.
Yeah.
Nothing would stop us, even COVID. That's profound. Well done. I like that.
And I remember the first time we launched, it was around the same time the first case of COVID was announced.
It was like 2-3 days apart.
Exactly.
Okay.
But we went ahead. Our first client was actually Quick Bus. And, I remember, Brian was in the office and we couldn't leave without that $1,000 check.
Wow.
We waited in the office until we got the first campaign. And then it was one campaign after the other, after the other. And, right now, as we said, we are on our way to create 1 million content creator jobs this year. So,
which brings me to Dr. Bashir. 1 million gigs, I've got to stay with a lingo in the room. That's dignified work. But isn't it did you pick a figure? Did you say, let's look for a bold number? Or is this truly something you're going to monitor and check that you can actually create 1 million gigs?
We are in a continent of 1 billion plus. I think an average age less than 20 years.
True.
We have, as a continent, leapfrogged development using technology. We've grown very fast. We haven't taken all the years other developed countries have taken to grow. We are a technology-mad continent. If you see some of the markets, beehive of activity here in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in South Africa, and so on. And so, Wowzi, at the core, is a business enterprise that also a social enterprise.
Okay.
A social enterprise whose part of function is to redistribute corporate spend to the community. It's the only model.
I like that. Tweet it. To redistribute corporate spend.
It's the only model I know or
I
I've
like
heard of or have seen that takes corporate spend and then takes it to the household. And if we can do that at 1 million places across Africa, then not only are we selling brands, we are also powering up spend at the household. You know, we're paying school fees, we're buying food, we're buying vegetables, we are paying rent. So in addition to being a business for us, which is what it is, we're definitely profit motivated and hungry to grow to unicamel, as they call it, unicamel. These guys call it
Not a unicorn, a unicamel.
Camelcorn, yeah,
Yes.
camelcorn. Unicorn is the common word. They call it
Yes.
camelcorn
Okay.
because it's a resilient model. The intention is to grow out of Africa into Africa, grow out of Kenya into Africa, and grow out of Africa into the world. So this is a global model. It's not, our ambition is not here. This is where we start. Our ambition is the globe. And so 1 million is underestimation. It's actually our target for Africa.
It's your target for
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah.
I need to ask you something because I'm on the app. I'm a Wowzi person. We're going to find a name for those people. However, I keep looking at the clock. That's why I was looking for my MC. I didn't want her to, shove me off stage. I need to know this from you, Brian. I've been on the app. It's fabulous. Now, you don't look like you do zeros and ones, and nor do you. Who put together the software? It's really good.
So yeah, I think Wowzi is way bigger than the three of us here. Wowzi's, we've got a fantastic team that's spread out across 5 countries. So Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana. We're soon, in about 3 weeks' time, opening up Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana.
Well in.
But to answer your questions, we have a very strong team in Estonia. So we've got a group of guys who are very motivated. We're very glad to have Ambassador here. A lot of guys who've built some of the products that you use every day. So if you use Skype, if you use Bolt, some of those developers, we worked very hard to convince them to join us.
You are that guy. So here's the other question I need to ask you, and Mike, this is for you. When you first sit in front of a client, and for example, I think I sent you to somebody who I felt, because once in a while I'll meet somebody who's like, I want to work with you. I'm like, I'm not your person. You need somebody else. And I need to be able to say that without making that person feel that I'm sending them away. But I always wonder, because Wowzi's it's barely walking, you're a baby. When you sit in front of a client for the first time and say, hi, I'm from Wowzi, and they say, and you are? How do you unpack what Wowzi does? And this is important that you explain it in the same way you would if we were sitting for coffee and a croissant in Java. Why? Because the three of you created something and over time created the vision that is literally 10 years ahead. But we need to be able to tell other people in our own language what Wowzi is. So I need you to break it down to its nano meaning.
I think what we say is word of mouth is still the best form of marketing. And Wowzi helps you organize word of mouth marketing. And a lot of people get that.
Okay, people get that.
If I am looking for a suit, the first place I ask is probably, Brian, where do you go? Or women trying to find a salon, they ask other women. That in essence is Wowzi. It's something that has existed. It's probably the best way people knew about Movenpick Hotel is from one person to the other.
True.
But no one uses it. No one has organized this social capital. So that's exactly what we do.
So you organize word of mouth. Wowzi
organize
is word of mouth organized.
Word of mouth organized and scaled.
And scaled. That one we can definitely tweet. I like this. I like this. Brian, back to you. First client, the one for $1,000. You want to talk about them?
Yeah, Humphrey, we sent him an invite, but I don't think he's in the country.
Okay, was it hard? Did they get it? Or
he did get it.
He
got
did
it.
get it?
He got it. He totally got it.
Really?
Yeah, he got it. And I think if you look at Wowzi, a lot of digital business models, this one people can understand faster. I think people understand Wowzi faster today than we understood Uber, 6, 7, 10 years ago.
Sure.
I think so. And it's because of that human relation, people like I, where, just like Mike said, the places you go, the places you visit are highly influenced by the people you trust. And that in itself it's human. So that's, yeah.
So first client got it and got it.
Yeah, he got it.
And paid and...
And he paid. And the problem was why we couldn't leave the room, because he was paying with a Barclays card from the UK. And then it was flagged. But we stayed there until we got that $1,000, till it worked. Yeah.
Dr. Bashir, I need to know, and I love the fact that he has talked about, first client $1,000. It's a win either way. But from what I have understood is that Wowzi was actually trying to fix a problem for SMEs. That was always the mission. And then the big boys, so to speak, came calling. So tell me, did you always think that would happen, or did you understand we're going to serve who we said we're going to serve, and if the other guys come along, well and good?
Wowzi was, from the beginning, designed for mass market.
Okay.
So it was not, it's not a model developed for a few big entities. Of course, the big entities definitely use it, and so on. What we also know in Africa, SMEs dominate our markets. The majority of companies in the African market are SMEs, and they do happen to be outside the formal marketing space. True. Because they don't have the budget for the big billboard, the big TV screen, and so on. I have been involved in running companies for, let's say, 25 years, but have not been able to use consistently the formal media. So we definitely designed Wowzi for the SME market. It is able to turn a small budget into a big feasibility. And that market is probably going to be the biggest market over the long term. It's our intention not only to serve the people who are already spending, but also, the small restaurant at the corner, the pharmacy in the neighborhood, the small business startup. So it's a model. Wowzi is not a search engine. It's not something where you find information. Mm-hmm. It's an end-to-end marketing campaign runner. It takes the pain out of what marketing managers and directors and promotion managers already do, mm-hmm. and frees their hand and mind to think about the intellectual side of their business rather than supervise multitudes of influencers. And so SMEs is a big part of our market.
And I totally appreciate that. I want to stay with you because I'm sure there have been times, like the first time I met the three of you, you've shown up with these two and somebody actually pulls you aside and says, where did you meet them? I mean, where does a gentleman of your stature meet these two? And how did you say, okay, let's do this? Why? Why? Why would you even agree to an idea they had? Where did you meet them? Let's start there. We know, they had dinner and they also were fishing and other very, very exotic things. Where did you meet them?
Well, I first met Mike when I was looking for someone with the knowledge of taxi hailing apps.
Oh, really?
I was assessing a taxi hailing app investment. I asked around who knows it, and someone said Mike. So I looked for Mike.
All right.
I had coffee with him, and I said, I want you to assess this business for me. Shall I invest in?
And what did Mike say?
And Mike said, yeah, I will definitely consider, but allow me to work with a colleague who also worked for a taxi hailing app. He was the ambassador for Uber. He introduced to East Africa Mondo,
Okay.
which was a taxi hailing app. So, and they were friends, and they came together, and they took 2 weeks to give me an advice not to invest.
And that's why he's with them.
So that's how we first met.
No, that is a very good reason to be with anybody, because they didn't come back and say, well, this guy seems to want to put his money somewhere. Let's tell him yes. They just told you no.
No.
Okay.
They looked at the technology. It wasn't solid. The ownership was not here, and so on. So they gave me good reasons. I didn't invest, of course. 3-4 coffees later, a few lunches, we came to the question. He's running Opera, if you remember.
Yes, I remember that.
He's one of the managers at Growth Africa. And, the energy is there, the fire in the belly I can see.
Yes.
And then we came to a discussion over lunch that perhaps we could consider some ideas. And that's how it started. So we came up with about 10 ideas, scaled down to 5, scaled down to 3, scaled down to 2, and picked Wowzi.
And picked Wowzi. So Mike, here's the thing. What does it take to tell a man of Dr. Bashir's stature he shouldn't put his money in something? I mean, did the two of you say, do we tell him, do we not? Is he not going to like us?
I guess it takes integrity. So we saw him. He was actually a CEO of a big insurance company. One of the interesting things is he was being driven around mostly with big cars, this driver. And so he's coming out to almost a new world. And he's like, okay, what's Uber? What's Airbnb? What's happening,
that?
right?
Yeah, what's that?
So that excitement was for him almost a relief from the straitjacket CEO role that he had. And he just wanted to understand this new space that was evolving, that was growing very fast. And he found the two of us to advise him, and we became trusted advisors. And I remember when we had those many dinners and coffees, we did not have an idea. And I think that's very important, that we met
have an idea.
without an idea and worked backwards to find an idea. But what were we doing over the lunches and coffees? We were trying to figure out whether our values are aligned. Are they very tightly knit, aligned? Do we believe in the same things? 2 things that we believed in was technologies taking over. The other thing we believed in was Africa.
Okay.
And we used to call ourselves the 3 winners. The essence was the African stones, the 3 stones in the African stone, where innovation happened, where storytelling happened. So it was very philosophical how we met. But all put together, our values are strongly aligned.
Okay.
Therefore, ideas are built on very strong principles and foundations.
Got you.
Whatever we ended up doing would be successful.
So Caroline, if I may add, I might be gray, look like the older man in the group. No one should take that assumption. I'm still young. These 2 guys might be young guys. Really young. He's not 30 yet.
I know.
Brian's
I tried not to go
yet.
there.
Yeah. Mike just crossed it. But really, if they are 2 of the best minds and most solid young men I have met, absolutely grounded in terms of ethical values. They were employees where they were working, but they were really focused on value creation where they were. What they were doing where they were was worth ownership of a business like this. They were critical to the businesses they were in, and I saw that value myself. I'm a career entrepreneur myself. I started many businesses. But here I see two young Kenyans, educated Kenyans, at the apex in industry, with the energy and with the values and vision, grounded really. Young people sometimes get lost thinking very much about more salary, more money, and so on.
True.
You know, when I told Brian and Mike, we will slog 2-3 years of no serious income. Are you ready for it?
I like that.
And you know, they are on 500,000, 600,000 salary per month. And they walked away from that and they said, yes, we will live.
Brian, if that is true, where did you tell your mother you were going? No, seriously, because that's one of those things, you know, you go and start something that's unknown. And I think I told you this, every time I meet a new person, whether it's especially makeup artists, I always ask her, what do you tell your grandmother you do? When you leave a job at opera, you tell your mother you're going. What are you doing?
I think at that stage, she had finally understood digital businesses a bit.
Really?
I think my whole career I've been in technology, but
you were
about
going
10
to
years.
start something.
Yeah. She didn't even ask any questions, and she sat right here. I think she's part of Wowzi.
Oh, I didn't realize you're in the room.
But she didn't ask me any questions. I think throughout my whole life, whether I go and break my leg, you go break your leg. But I've never broken my leg, thanks to God.
Okay.
But she didn't ask no questions and supported very much.
Fantastic. I just want to say something to the room because, you know, we're having a conversation with you. But what I understand from Dr. Bashir is this, and I remember learning this when I was in school, is that if you're sitting in the same space as Dr. Bashir and I, sometimes you can't see around the corner because the truth is light travels in a straight line. But when you've got a Brian and a Mike in the room, they can see around the corner. So go with them, ride with them. What you do have, though, is a GPS that will tell you that can work. This will be the pitfall. But please don't be afraid to pick up a Brian or a Mike. The other thing that's important for me, just listening to Brian right now, is that when we finally open up and Career Day starts happening again in colleges, in schools, in your organizations, please call Brian and Mike. And the reason is this. If we don't begin to make the learning institution understand that unconventional careers are real, and I'm not saying we don't need doctors and lawyers, but doctors and lawyers also need clients, okay? Then we will make it harder for Dr. Bashir and Brian and Mike to create these 1 million jobs. And this being a gig economy, which means literally they can work from where they are, if you don't have them in campus, you don't have them in school, speaking to your year 6s, year 10s, we're going to make this harder. This is not just about 1 million jobs, and I think a lot of people, and I said this to you, Dr. Bashir, there's always a lot of talk about creating jobs for young Africans, but very rarely is it work they will love, work they do naturally because it is what they're great at, and more importantly, very rarely is it dignified work. And for me, as the person who's asked to just moderate this, I'm excited by Wowzi because that 1 million jobs promise is powerful. Because you don't just get to tell the stories of brands by people who experience them at a very, very organic level, but more importantly, you're going to start telling our stories to the world. 1 million people at a time. We're 1 billion. We can tell a lot of stories. Now, I've got 13 minutes on the clock. Does anybody have a question? And the only reason I'm being careful is that I know we started a bit late, and it is also my job to make sure my MC can recoup time. Any questions? You can even ask Brian's mom a question if you want. I mean, she's here, after all. Because if you have no questions, I'm going to ask these 3 gentlemen to leave you with the one thing they would love you to tell anybody who didn't make it for this event about Wowzi. And Brian, I'll start with you because you are the CEO. And your job, you might not know, is your mari kwa mari, kazi yako ni kuuza, sell.
Everybody's an influencer.
Okay. Mike, what do you want to leave this room with?
I think for me is it takes a village, and we need all of you to hit these 1 million jobs. one campaign at a time. So it'll be exciting to collaborate with everyone in the room. We'll be around, and later in the day we have a masterclass. We can take you through the ins and outs in more detail. But let's Wowzi the world together.
Oh, please, tweet that. Dr. Bashir, you get to have the final word.
Yeah. The profit motive which drives, free enterprise is usually not necessarily to the exclusion of development of the community. I think we can make very hefty, very good profit from the market while at the same time contributing and growing the society and putting food on the tables. Wowzi is designed to do that. It's our DNA to pick budget from corporate entities, give them extremely satisfying service, and then take that money back to the community. We're doing that right now in Kenya at 5 million a week. We pay 5 million a week now in Kenya to influencers. That money is not going to shareholder accounts in foreign countries. It's going into the households. We're talking about majority nano influencers. I know that we will work with mega and meta influencers like Caroline. But if there's one thing to take away from here, the budget you give to Wowzi will feed the house next to you probably and pay school fees to your neighbor's children. That's what Wowzi is.
I absolutely love that. Please tweet 5 million shillings a week. A week is paid out by Wowzi. Mike, Dr. Bashir, Brian, thank you. I'm going to ask you to have your seats, and I'm going to be reminding Dr. Awari. No, sorry, you're not Dr. Jeremy. Remember Victoria who called me because of the Absa job? It never came through.
Caroline.
It never came through. Yes.
Caroline, just allow me 1 minute to
You've
thank two people.
Yes.
Who have helped this team really work. You have already heard of David Gatere,
yes,
who was the mentor for these two men, and Ambassador Katri. Didn't need to talk to Wowzi or a startup like that. We were scratching on scratch pads. Ambassador Katri was responsible for this team going to Estonia, spend 3 weeks there, talk to many, many developers, and then ultimately pick the developer who developed this system. She went out of her way. She's very busy, represents a country in Kenya, and spent evenings and mornings with us. So Ambassador, thank you so much. The other person that I want to thank is Kalota. Kalota may have left.
Oh, no.
And that Kalota is at Anjawala Khana now. And she has really, in our early months of thinking and evaluating and so on, has been with us, sitting with us, writing with us, reading our work, and telling us, slowing us where we were messing up a little bit, and so on. So thank you, Kalota. She was here this morning. I think she's left.
Okay. Thank you ever so much. Let's go and Wowzi the world. Where is my MC? Thank you, gentlemen. You may take your seats. And the stage is yours. Thank you. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you. Yes, you have. Thank you very much. Another round of applause to Caroline and the Wowzi founders. And I can attest, Caroline, you're not the only one who gets calls from Wowzi with the offers. So to know the team and the faces behind the calls and emails as influencers we receive, can the Wowzi team just wave from wherever they are? Naomi, Victoria, that is the force and the team behind the exceptional work we are seeing today. So thank you so much. Thank you for setting the stage. And it gives me great honor to call Jeremy Awari, Managing Director, Absa Bank Kenya, to continue and build the momentum we have currently received from the team. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Linda, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely excited to be here this morning, for what we're launching today, because I think it's extremely powerful. And I think it represents a story of courage, belief, passion, and most importantly, impact. When I heard them speaking and describing how they arrived at what we are here today to launch, it can actually be a case study. You've got smart young people coupled with experience, and they actually created this very clearly here and very purposefully. And when I think about your target of creating jobs, or I think more appropriately put income for 1 million people across Africa, I stand here today and bet you that within the next 5 to 10 years, that number will be at least 10 times your aspiration. That's my belief, if not even significantly more than what you're hoping for. And I think it's great that you've dreamt big, because when we think we've got a continent of 1 billion people, why can't that number be 10 million, 100 million people? I mean, heck, when Mike told me about what they're trying to do, I said I can also try and boost my own income with my own few hundred followers. See Caroline looking at me, We all can boost our income, yeah? So I really connect with what Dr. Bashir said around taking corporate spend directly into households. And I think, put that way, it actually struck a chord, because there's, Wowzi is just an enabler for that to happen, and that 5 million shillings a week will grow significantly going forward. And it really just shows that you can have a sustainable model, a model where business makes money, but the community also benefits, and jobs and income are also created in the process. Now you probably wonder and say, okay, so why is a bank CEO here at such a event which is talking about media and marketing and technology? Banking is typically seen as more old-fashioned, but for us, we already use Wowzi through Dentsu, yeah? And that just shows you how times have actually changed, and how even long-standing industries such as banking have had to adapt. And I think that's why they asked me just to make a few remarks here, which is really around business transformation, digital transformation, democratization, data. And I'll just, if you will, I'll share a few thoughts from my industry, which is banking, and try and see how we can connect them to what we are here today to talk about. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we are all coming out of the COVID pandemic. We hope that we will see the end of it soon. I think there's almost no family that has not been touched. We all know of people who have got sick. We all know people who have passed on. And when I try to look at it as being an optimist, I try to look at the silver linings that have come through. And I think the silver lining for me that has really shone high is that the world of work has completely changed. Nobody would have thought about remote working, flexible working, remote entrepreneurship. Business models have come up around distribution. People can order things and they get delivered, and suddenly they've got a lot more time on their hands to do what they care about and what they love. Those things will stay well beyond COVID. I look at the way we share information, how social media now has become a major platform for communicating, for selling brands, for communicating messages. And I think that's what's very exciting for us here. I think when we think about the world of work, I found it amusing. When I was at the age of Brian and Mike, it would be unheard of to be thinking that you could go and say, I'm going to go to Hemingway's and do some brainstorming session or create content while sitting on a boat on the ocean, right? It was a hard slog. We had to go to the office on Tomboya Street, right? And put in many hours. And there was no such way that we could even imagine that work could be done that way. So I think when we think through the COVID environment, it bears taking stock that not just 18 months ago, none of us pretty much would have used Zoom, right? We would not be holding meetings with Zoom. In my own company, they told me it is impossible, you must do video conferencing, you must come to the office to do video conferencing because it is insecure. And then we physically had to travel. I was traveling every month at least twice to South Africa just to go and host meetings. Now, it's par for the course. In fact, I don't like going to physical meetings most of the time. I don't want to waste time in traffic. So we have all got a lot of time back by not having to commute. And I think even when we think about it, new tools have come up as a result. We would typically have come into rooms like this to have our annual general meetings. Now we do them virtually. And what does that mean? It means that shareholders that could not physically come to Nairobi who own shares in our company can attend that AGM from wherever they are sitting in the country. And they don't have to spend money to come in and vote. So I think that's very powerful in itself and just shows the power of digital transformation, that is amongst us. I think just to share the context of Absa, I mean, we as a bank are very passionate about digital transformation, about change and impact, and sustainable business is something very close to our hearts. And we're always looking for ways that we can transform the way we work. Today, more than 60 to 70% of our people are working remotely, other than obviously our branches where we physically need to go in. And we've introduced hybrid ways of working. And we were proud that during the pandemic, we did not close even for one day, even though we had COVID cases. And that was because we were able to work using technology and backups and things like that to make sure customer service was not interrupted. I think another theme for us is, people always ask the question of, whether banks are going to become extinct, and what threats we're facing as a result of digital finance. And I think whilst it's early days to make that assessment, what is clear is that the banking landscape has changed considerably, and will never be the same again. We at Absa, formerly Barclays, have always wanted to invest and have a history of investing in change and in transformation. Barclays was the first bank to automate its operations. We've recently continued that trend with a number of innovations. You'll have seen we launched last year the first vertical credit and debit card. It's a contactless card where you can tap and go. And again, what is that useful for? The whole notion of customer journeys and customer experience is very close to our hearts, and we want people to be able to make their payments quickly and easily. Recently, earlier this year, you saw us launch what we call as ABI, which is a first in the market transactional WhatsApp banking facility. So you can basically do your banking through WhatsApp. And we chose WhatsApp because that's where people communicate. So why move out of your platform if you can basically do your banking from within the platform? We've recently launched another first in the market, and that is enhancing our card proposition and our card management system. Today, within our mobile banking app, you can actually go into the app and you can switch on or switch off your debit or your credit card. And that's pretty powerful in itself. You can go on, you can change your password, you can change your PIN, you can switch off international transactions. So if you want to be sure that nobody's using your card online, you can switch off international transactions. When you're ready to do it, you can go back, switch them on, and then do your transaction And it gives you much more power in your hands and the confidence, not to mention the flexibility of being able to use technology. As a bank, we were the first bank to introduce what we call our robotics programs. We had big back offices that processed your transactions with literally hundreds of people. We put in robotics programs that now literally automate all those transactions. So if you walk in to our operations unit, you'll see computers coming alive at a certain point. Screens come up, and you just see them doing these transactions, like the mouse just moving across the screen. And it's extremely powerful because what it does is it means that those transactions are carried out much faster, much more accurately, and we can change parameters of those transactions very, very quickly to make sure the controls work very quickly. So things can be processed a lot faster. And what that has meant for us is that we have reduced our staff that focus in that area by several hundred people and have put them in the front line to go out and sell and service our customers and add value to them in a greater way than just processing transactions. I think when we think about the speed and impact of transformation, and I think about it in the context of the banking environment, Dr. Bashir will remember, and those of a lot of experience, that banking before, it was completely unheard of to go out and market to customers. You had to go to the bank to open your account. There was no one who was ever going to come to you and say, please open an account. Yeah? To open an account took you anywhere between 2 days and 7 days. So you'd fill the form, you take it in, they'll input it into the system. Maybe 7 days later, you'd get your bank account. Now you can open an account in minutes. We launched an app called Fuliza, a banking app, which essentially with your ID number and a mobile phone, you can open a bank account. And within that bank account, by the time you've opened it, it will have already made a credit decision for you and given you a small amount of credit that you can use instantaneously, whether it's for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months. And that has completely changed things. We launched that in 2018. It took us 100 years to get to 1 million customers, before 2018. We launched our Timiza app. We got 1 million customers in 40 days. So when we talk about a rocket ship, this is what we're actually looking at. The question is, I always ask the people in the bank, you better just put your safety belt on, right? And be ready to go at speed that you have not known. And for many of us, it is not a comfortable space because you hope your experience will guide the future. But now the future does not necessarily respect experience. So as leaders, that is a major change. To give you a sense of the number of transactions we have been able to process using that app, typically we would process between 5,000 and 6,000 loans a month. Now we're able to process between 5,000 and 10,000 loans a day. So when you think about scale and that 1 million to 10 million, those numbers I think are going to come much faster than we ever anticipate. I think one thing that is becoming clear is the power of data, the power of connectivity, the power of data analytics, and then also the power of machine learning using that data. We've set up quite a big data analytics department, and we use big data, and we will continue to work with the likes of Wowzi to be able to see how we can be more effective at communicating. So I think there's one thing which is promoting messages, but then there's also studying data to understand how is the most effective way to communicate within that group. And I think the nano-influencers is exactly the way that we need to go. And I think what we have observed with the commoditization of computers, and most powerfully taking a computer and putting it in your phone, that has democratized and empowered hundreds of millions of people across the world. With a simple mobile phone, a day laborer can decide whether he's going to go to a location to find a job and which location he's going to go to find that job. And I think with the likes of Wowzi, we'll be able to even enhance that even further. Farmers being able to know the best prices for their crops, where to sell them, without middlemen. They're much more informed. And I think now we have the ability where, irrespective of where you fit in the social demographic scheme of things, you have access to information in ways that you never had before, both local and global. And I think, when we look at it, what is so exciting about Wowzi is that people have the capacity using their phones or their tablets to earn income, and they can earn income quite rapidly without even compromising maybe their day jobs or their businesses that they're running. So for me, it's clear that your network can become your net worth. And I think that's extremely powerful. Yeah, your network can become your net worth. And I think it's shocking to me, when you talk to young people and they tell you, what they are doing, the part that I struggle to piece together is what they're doing and how much that costs is always a challenge. But it's because people are able to earn money by using the digital economy, the gig economy. And I think it's hard for our parents' kind of generation to kind of look at it and say, you earn money because of hard work, isn't it? It's almost like physical labor. Times have changed completely. Times have changed completely. So I think when we think about this in the context of what we're here to do today, is these changes have completely transformed marketing and advertising. And I think whether we like it or not, the old forms of media are going to change, right? Print media is suffering, right? Now we're in digital media, electronic media. And I think we can only expect with the introduction of things like 5G, where in a matter of seconds, you can download huge files, you can transmit huge amounts of data, is only going to empower the rocket that you're looking at. We as Absa are keen to work with Dentsu and Wowzi to communicate very closely to our customers in a way that is relevant to them and useful to them. We've launched a number of products. For example, we've launched what I'm very proud of, our Women in Business proposition, or the She account, which stands for See Her Empowered, where I've also given them a target to empower over 1 million women entrepreneurs in the next 5 years. And with that platform, the way we will succeed is through partnerships and the right form of communication. And Wowzi can be able to do that. Yeah? We can communicate to women-run businesses for them to share ideas, which is what they clearly want, and be able to share ideas about how they take their businesses abroad. Where are new marketplaces? What are the lessons they've learned? How would they change the way they run their businesses to be more successful? So ladies and gentlemen, we're in a digital world where companies can create products and services and platforms that connect people in a fraction of the time than we've seen in the past. And I think that is exciting. And it is reflected when you look at how we value companies today. In the past, if you look at the New York Stock Exchange, the top 10 companies were all manufacturing companies, yeah, or banks. Now you look at the companies on the stock exchange, Tesla has just hit $1.2 trillion, right? The likes of Apple, Amazon, yeah, Facebook, Airbnb, Uber. These are all tech companies, yeah, creating platforms that connect people and make their lives easier. And that's what Wowzi is looking at doing here today. I think we're seeing unprecedented valuations for tech companies and the creation of wealth for those who invest and believe in those companies. And I actually believe that Africa is at the early stages of this revolution. We've seen this happening in Silicon Valley and other markets, but Africa hasn't really benefited. And my challenge to us as Africans is that we should not allow or just create an environment where those from without come and buy our businesses at a fraction of the cost. We should have African investors, those who have funds available, investing in our young people today and believing in their ideas, like the likes of what Dr. Bashir, Mike, and Brian have done. And it's not to say we don't want foreign capital. We absolutely need foreign capital. We need connections. But I would like to see unicorns or camocons growing out where we take African originated ideas into the world, the way we've seen the brand of M-Pesa go out into the world. You can go anywhere in the world and talk about M-Pesa and people will have heard about it. And I'm really hoping that as we see Wowzi do what they're doing, that we will see more such cases in the future. I think, ladies and gentlemen, partnerships are going to be essential for this as we move forward. Corporates can partner with advertising agencies who will then engage the likes of Wowzi. And in future, maybe even those marketing departments will engage directly with the Wowzi platform, put out their briefs in a matter of seconds and be able to run campaigns and actually track instant results and then tweak those campaigns based on their experiences. And I think that's extremely powerful because I'm always asking my marketing team, so you're running the campaign, how is it going? How many accounts have we opened? How many products have we sold? This, I can just log on to a platform and I'm able to see exactly. Nobody can give me any stories about the campaign Jeremy is doing very well. It's an excellent campaign. I say, okay, I understand excellent in numbers. Please show me the numbers, right? So I think this really, democratizes it. And I think what's exciting, as I say, is as we're doing so, I feel good knowing that my advertising spend is going to end up in the hands of someone somewhere in the community that allows them, as Dr. Bashir said, to pay their school fees, to buy food, to support one another, to pay medical bills. So I think as we go along, we need to be mindful. There's a lot of investment, there's a lot of interest in African startups. There's a lot, Kenya is one of those countries, second only to Nigeria, when we look at a destination where there's been investment. I think Nigeria had about $307 million invested in startups. Kenya followed by about $305 million. And it just shows the potential that people see for us today. So as I wind up, I think it should not be lost on us the power of what we have here today. I think the trends that we're seeing support Wowzi and other similar types of institutions. We have a revolution in the marketing infrastructure and the marketplace. And I guess I'm proud that we as a bank are forward-looking. We want to work with young people. We want to empower young people. And we want to empower businesses. And I would like to see us, we're talking with Wowzi about how we can support influencers, how they can make their payments, how do they receive their payments. Because at the end of the day, we want money to flow around this economy and we want it to flow digitally and we want to be part of that solution. So I want to once again congratulate the Wowzi team, the founders and the entire team for this major milestone. I think it's very special. I'm glad I could be here for it. And I hope this, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you look back to this day and you look back to the blood, sweat and tears you put into it and feel good that you've actually impacted Africans with an African solution. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention and congratulations again. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask once again a round of applause for Mr. Jeremy Awari. Jeremy, I'm going to tell tales out of school. That founders campaign for women, that's the one I pitched for. I hope one day it happens. So I just want to have a conversation with you as they set up the stage for my panelists. And a conversation we're going to have that I believe will be very exciting. However, I just wanted to capture a few of the thoughts that Jeremy Awari gave us so that you can actually go away with what this means for business. It's a great morning for Wowzi. It's a great time for Wowzi. But you do realize they are not going to do this alone. Their vision is large. And when you have a moment, do try and find Lions on the Move. And don't look for Lions on the Move 2 from McKinsey. Don't look for lions still on the move, look for the first one. And that came out in 2010. And the numbers from Lions on the Move tell the story that Dr. Bashir is trying to tell, and tell the story of the potential of Africa. And it was never really meant for you and I. So in 2010, McKinsey projected that Africa's collective GDP in 2020 was going to be 2.6 trillion US dollars. McKinsey projected that Africa's consumer spending in 2020 was going to be 1.4 trillion. Now, if what Jeremy's saying about money going into households and what Wowzi is saying about 1 million jobs, if you can actually believe that there is consumer spending worth about 1.4 trillion US dollars in the African continent, imagine what that does for just making sure that Africa's youth are employed. The other thing that was impressive about that particular research is that 1.1 billion was the number of Africans of working age by 2040. And I remember in 2017 when we hosted Jack Ma, the one thing he kept saying is we are a very young continent, and we are, because I do believe over 60% of our population is under 35, which means we are the future. Everybody else is in a decline, and then there's us. McKinsey also said in Lions on the Move that the number of African households with discretionary income by 2020 will be 128 million. So sometimes I think we look at the continent and we don't see what everybody else sees about it. And the sooner we begin to understand how powerful a product we have, the better. Are my chairs set up? Brilliant, here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. My name is Caroline Motoko, and it is my pleasure to introduce a panel that is made up of the following. Once again, our host and CEO of Wowzi, Brian Mugenyi. Please take your seat. I would like you to give a wonderful and rousing welcome to Anjoy Mushira. She's the Acting Marketing and Innovations Director, KBL. I want a title like that. I would also like to call to the stage a gentleman I haven't seen in almost 4 years. Joel Rao, he's the CEO, Isobar and iProspect Kenya. I knew you when. When I saw your title, I was like, don't I know this guy? And finally, Caroline Kendi. Of course, we'll only refer to her as Kendi because we can't be two Carolines on stage. She's the head of brand and marketing communications at Safaricom, the hardest working woman in telco. I'll figure out whether I want you on that corner, so if I get tired, I'll sit right here. Do you have a microphone? Okay, fantastic. So first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, when I came off air in 2014, these were the people wondering, where's she going? Okay, no, yes you were. You were all totally horrified, okay? But the truth is, I think a couple of years later, it became clear. And I think I want to ask, the questions I ask are for each and every one of you, so chip in. And I want to ask this: what has changed in the way we look for audiences and the way we speak to audiences in the last 2 years and in the last 5? I want to start with you because, yeah, COVID tuliongea. What has changed in the way we seek and speak to audiences?
Yeah, so thanks. Good morning, everyone. I think, in the last 2 years, obviously, COVID happened.
Yes.
And, I liked what Jeremy was talking about when this whole digital transformation, right, was like an idea until it happened. And, oh my God, all of a sudden it became actually mission critical, right, to figure out how to engage through digital. So what has changed, I think, and I'll speak from a Safaricom perspective, when I think about even simple things like media spends, right? 40% of my media spend goes through digital now, and goes through digital because, one, that is where customers are, yeah, and that is where people are. So it's about being relevant and moving with our customers. Then, more importantly, what Jeremy talked about, you can measure. Yeah, you can measure.
Wow.
You can be clear about, in real time, we can test. We do A/B testing. I can put out 2 creative concepts. And see which one people are responding to, so it's great with regards to really driving, sharper objectives and getting a great return on your ad spend. So ultimately, what has changed, I think, from a marketer and from somebody who's building a brand and building brands, is about, we're in a space in the last 2 years which has shifted with regards to even the way I'm able to report back on the success of my campaigns, the way I'm able to see the impact of what my brand is doing and what my campaigns are doing. It's such a different space, and that has really changed, and that brings a lot of credibility, and that is why I'm able to invest more, and I'm able to say, out of whatever money, I'm going to spend more here. So yeah, I think.
Okay. Joel, I want to come to you because I know we haven't seen each other in a while, but
It's
I do
actually
remember.
been 3 years, 11 months.
Really?
And I'm not counting.
Okay, he's not counting. But I do remember when I first met you, it was clear you could see around the corner. You almost had an idea of what was going to happen. But what has changed radically, once again, in the last 2 years, in the last 5? And you're allowed to tell me nothing's changed, Caroline.
I mean, just like Candy said, a lot has changed. And I'll touch a bit around just the behavioral aspects of people. In the last 5 years, we always talked about digital transformation, and from a consumer standpoint, we could see that coming as far as the rate of penetration was concerned. 5 years ago, we had close to 7.5 million active users on Facebook, if I'm not wrong.
7.5 only?
Yeah.
Okay. A million was sitting with me.
And now we're close to 16 million monthly active consumers. But what's really interesting about this whole transformation was that when COVID came, it kind of catalyzed everything. And what started happening, and I think we've actually seen it over the last 2 years, is yes, the penetration has continually grown, but at the same time, attention has also declined.
Yes.
And so for me, that has been the biggest thing that has happened over the last 2 years, whereby we've really moved away from focusing on the digital economy as it is, and for consumers specifically, focusing on the attention economy.
Okay. So, Anjoy, your products, literally, it's our celebration moments, and then that's about all. But then again, we're stuck at home. So, in particular, in the last 2 years, what changed about how you actually seek audiences and speak to them? I must say, because I sit in the space where I do get your briefs, you've changed even how and how quickly you're on the turnaround and who you talk to. But for this room who's thinking, but it's KBL. Really, we were doing Zoom calls with cameras off and having a drink.
There weren't many of you.
Oh, okay. All right. So what has changed in the way you seek audiences?
Let me start first by correcting Jeremy. Marketers are fundamentally honest, and we give very honest reports. I'll ask the Wowzi team. Yeah. Wowzi team, please limit access to platforms to marketing. We are the ones who give you the work.
And everything is going well.
So let me start, Caroline, with 5 years out.
Okay, 5 years.
5 years out. And the reason I wanted to say that is because when I was growing up, unlike my children today, we were not encouraged to speak back to our parents, right? We were expected to take the instruction, go do it, and just maintain, shut up. So what has changed for me in the last 5 years in communication and audiences is feedback.
They talk back.
They are telling you things back. They're telling you that ad is bad. They're telling you, gosh, your drink, Tusker, is horrible. What did you do to it? You put out a post and you go to the comments and you feel like lefting social media. And that's a big change.
Yes.
Because it's no longer one-way communication. It's an interaction, it's a conversation. And that for me, from an audience perspective, was a big shift.
Okay.
And it has changed a lot of what we do and how we behave. The sad thing is that many people ignore the feedback. Let me laugh at Carol and Candy. Stop eating bundles. But
Sincerely.
no, sorry.
I'm coming back to that.
I know. But in terms of the power of that feedback is immense if you actually harness it. From the last 2 years, allow me, because everyone has focused on how we reach people, and I think that's critical. I'll speak about what we are saying. And what I've found in the last 2 years is people are seeking meaning. The one thing that doesn't change, regardless of how much technology there is that we are human. True. We're human beings, we feel, and we are motivated by emotion. I always laugh, there are very many men in the room. I have 2 boys, so I don't hate men, I love them. But when women are called emotional beings, it's usually negatively placed. When you go to the dictionary, you realize that emotion prepares us for action. It's a natural human thing that prepares us for action. In the last 2 years, it has been very important to connect with people emotionally. And it had to be real. You had to be supporting the community. You had to be giving solutions to all the problems people were facing. We need sanitizer, give out the alcohol. I mean, you're not selling it anyways, the bars are closed, right? Mm-hmm. And do something for society. So the last 2 years, it's been critical to be purpose-driven and to have a real impact and not just, swag and frills. Yeah, it's important to be meaningful.
Okay. Brian, I need to come to you because at the end of the day, you're here because you platform yourself as the solution to how we will seek audiences going forward. But what changed in the last 2 years? Because if the way we seek audiences and speak to them, and I love the fact that you said, and they talk back, and they do. Caroline Kendi also knows this as well. They talk to her daily about their bundles. But what has changed, and what does Wowzi know to be true? Because you wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I think, especially starting with the last 2 years, and I'll touch on Andre's point of emotion. People, if you look at emotion, and with Wowzi, there's 3 factors in content, community, and commerce. And the content on itself, I think over the last 2 years specifically, people have moved from consuming information from a centralized place.
Oh, yes.
More and more people now listen to the person who's sitting next to them. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, we've pretty much gone to the same mode of sitting under the tree with your uncles and your grandfathers and your mothers and your cousins. But you're just doing it via the phone. So I think that is one thing that I've seen over the last 2 years. Content has become extremely distributed. People do not want to listen there, they want right here and right close. And I think when it comes to marketing to business, how do we deliver the numbers, it starts with emotion. And in anything, if you want to succeed, you need to appeal to at least either the brain, the heart, or down here. Mm-hmm. If you do any of those, you'll succeed. Okay. So if you actually look at the last 2 years, that emotional piece, I think that is critical. And that's the first point to actually convert. Yeah.
Okay. Joel, I want to start my next question with you. There's what you always knew, and then here's the truth about digital disruption. It never sends you a small card, and it's like a save the date. That's the worst thing. It happens, and then you got a deal. So what have you had to learn really fast and unlearn really quickly about how we do this job? I mean, I'm sure at some point in the last 3 years, and I can actually say I could feel the room shake. This is in the last 3 years. All of a sudden, that thing don't work anymore. And you're finding yourself holding on because you're like, but we have numbers that prove it worked. And all of a sudden it's like, what have you had to unlearn quickly and then learn?
I mean, having been a digital native, for the last 10 years, it has always been in me to be able to just stay ahead of the curve. Okay. I think the biggest job was to convince those around us, the stakeholders, on what is coming. Okay. And by stakeholders, I mean like, media partners, clients, and getting them ready.
Which clients? Which clients?
The ones who are still buying billboards, and we have nothing against billboards.
And really that's, sometimes, you end up looking like the madman in the room shouting about something. But at the same time, you see it's coming.
Yes.
One of the things that we have been talking about quite critically, and we've really spent quite a bit of time and money, is just how we use data to inform what is coming. And having that mindset that data is the new currency that we would use and investing in it, but at the same time, not doing away with the emotive aspect of advertising, which is what Brian has just mentioned. For us, what we began to see is that our attention span as human beings is increasingly decreasing. So at the moment right now, the average attention span on social media is 9 seconds for a human being. Sorry, it's 8 seconds. Goldfish is 9 seconds. Wow. So we have a shorter attention span than a goldfish right now, as it is. But at the same time, the way we use content to tell stories is really what creates that stickiness to allow us to have that thumb-stopping effect as you're scrolling down your feed to be able to see. And one of the things we've begun to really appreciate is the power of the people who look like us telling us something about a service or a product and driving that aspect of influence. So that's the first thing. Okay. The second thing that we've had to unlearn is the traditional notion of the way commerce is being done. And he mentioned something about the 3 C's. And commerce is a very central part of that. So unlike traditional models whereby you'd have products and services in physical storefronts, and even up until 10 years ago when e-commerce really started making gains in our market where it is actually platform-based, it's also changing because suddenly with platforms like Wowzi, you can easily have 15 million storefronts pushing one product.
Wow, that is also true. And that's a hard one to learn, huh? Because you have to visualize it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think about beer, you can imagine the 18 plus. We've got probably 12.5 million actively engaged on social media. 12.5 million people could easily become beer sellers in the country, and that's something that, and it's as you mentioned, you can feel the ground shaking.
You can feel the ground shaking.
Yeah, and it's more than just that product or service distribution model. It's also in the payments, because suddenly you can easily start having 12, 15 million payment fronts, payment gateways that you can actually be able to transact. And so the whole commerce conversation really changes. And I'll be speaking about this tomorrow also during that session. Yeah.
So I guess your comments make me now go to you, because he said data, and that's why you saw me pick up my phone, because I remember in 2017, for the first time in the world, the value of data surpassed the value of crude oil. Remember, we value the world based on the value of Brent crude every morning. Data became the single most expensive thing in the world. So what did you have to unlearn and then relearn really quickly? Because the world shifted, and you needed to shift as fast. 33 million subscribers and all.
Yeah, so I think, one of the interesting things, and I like to think of myself as a digital native. But I've been around for a couple of years. So, however, when I started marketing and when I started, and I worked at, a typical FMCG, Unilever, we used to get information, research information monthly. If I wanted to know how my campaign was doing, it would take a month, right? And you just fly blind for the month, give in your best, efforts, and you would know whether it's working or not in a month.
So you're actually getting history.
Yeah. Right now, today, I will put out, a proposition or a product or a campaign or whatever. And by this evening, I will have the data. Okay. And I will have the information to know, is it working? Is there anything I should be concerned about? Should we be tweaking? So I think first is just, that's the one thing you have to unlearn, right?
Yeah.
It's real-time data, and it's about consistently making decisions as you go along.
Yeah.
The second big lesson for me, and I loved what you said earlier about having a Brian and a Mike around you.
You need them.
Right? Even the composition of my team and the people around me. I have Jaramba here. I made him come and sit in the front. So I have a
Oh, is he the
young
one in the
people-
hoodie?
That's the guy.
All right.
He's the one who keeps me cool. But these guys are the people who would come, and Wowzi is a really good example, where I met these guys, and I'm like, look, I'm not the expert in this thing, but I have my people.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, okay, come, let's have a conversation. And so you need to have people, digital natives, people who understand, people who exist in the space, right? Who are part of building the strategy and part of delivering, because they know, they speak the language. I just have the GPS to say, exactly what you're saying. I have the GPS to say, hey guys, this is what we need to do. But I'm not the expert. I'm not the smartest in the room, and I'm okay being that.
And
person.
you're okay with that?
I'm okay.
Great.
The third thing, which again relevant when it comes to how we work with Wowzi, is co-creation.
Yes.
Again, we came from a world where I'm the client. I give you the brief. I tell you, this is what we are going to do.
Yes.
Right? But when it comes to how to connect, and the biggest shift is that, look, you guys are the expert on your platform, right? I don't know how to leverage your platform better than you. So partnership between myself, so I have my team, and we're part of the team. So Jeremy was saying in the future, people will be dealing directly. We're doing it already. Yeah, we work directly with Wowzi in partnership with our agency. And it's a space of co-creation, and that's where the magic is. The magic comes when we sit down and I say, look, this is what I'm trying to do for my brand. This is what I'm trying to do for the business. And they say, okay, I understand that, and this is how you can leverage my platform. Okay. So I think, those are the kind of things that to succeed and for this, to exist and to succeed in this context and in the digital world, it has to be in the space where you're not the expert, but you're bringing in a group of experts and co-creating and working together for mutual good.
Right. So, Anjoy, given that a few of your brands are heritage, like Tusker, and here you are, they're nimble, she's trying to be as agile as she can, but she's got people who can see around the corner. Enter yourself. What have you had to unlearn? And what you do is not easy. I am not even going to it's not easy. Because when you've got heritage brands, you're like, do we break the mold? Do we not? But we've got to move. What have you had to unlearn quickly and then learn?
One television commercial. One TVC is dead. Please, marketers in Kenya, stop. It is not worth it, it's expensive, and nobody actually cares.
Do not tweet her.
Stop. Unlearning is it's that one, just stop.
It's very hard.
Just stop. By the way, it's so interesting, and Joel will pay, because we worked together for a long time. And so I took over Task. I was running the Spirits portfolio, which is easier, because they're smaller brands, and technically, guys leave you alone to do what you want.
Yes.
Then I moved over to beer, and beer, there's this brand called Tusker that, even the president can give feedback on, So everyone is a brand manager. And I told my marketing director at the time, I don't think we should do a TVC. Yeah, that's how he looked. He was like, no. You need a big overarching campaign. So, well, we did the TVC, but it was a part of a campaign. Okay. I like what Candy said about connection. We have moved so that's what I had to unlearn, right? One TVC, one thing that's a campaign for 3 years, it's not one,
I know.
Right? We've moved from writing media briefs to writing connection briefs.
Wow.
So we have
to... Okay, tweet that. That would now allow her. Yeah.
And connection briefs is basically, I find you where you are, and I engage you as you'd like.
Nice.
And we are actually writing our connection briefs before we write the marketing brief, because I can't build things when I don't know where they're going.
True.
Right?
Oh, and that's powerful.
It's actually a paradigm shift. We're not yet perfect. So guys will write the media brief and then still go and huddle with the agency for the TVC, which we are not going to build anyways. But what what we're forcing, guys, is we sit down as a team, as Kendi was saying. So you have your digital agency, your media agency, your creative agency. Everyone is sitting in a room. And we start with, where are these people? Are they on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest? What are all those things? I don't even know half of them. Me, I'm not trying to be like you. I don't know them. But we write connection briefs. The thing for me with heritage brands is you have to be brave to walk into the future.
Oh, please tweet that. You've got to be brave to walk into the future. And I know, I left radio 7 years ago, and these guys are like, Kananda.
You must be brave, and it's scary. When we sat down and said, let's do Tusker Oktoberfest, that was our campaign. We didn't have a TVC. Our campaign was experiential. It was bring the best of Kenyan music, Kenyan food, Kenyan beer, bring people to one place, and people have talked about it for over,
I'm still talking about it, actually.
Right?
And I didn't even go.
Yeah, so
for me, I've raised the average age group 30 years, no.
Don't worry, we had a corner for people like you and me. So relearning is really around, for me, it's, Joel said it's stories, but you can't tell stories without experiences. So serve consumers experiences, and they will build the stories for you. You don't have to work that hard.
Oh, wow, I love that. It's like I want to end this discussion, but Brian, the question for you, it is the same, but I'm going to tweak it slightly. What are you finding that you need to help your clients unlearn? Because they come to you because they believe you've got the solution, but they still, as Anjo is saying, want to do a TVC. And they want to ask you, munafanyanga TVC? What are you finding yourself having to almost convince a client to unlearn?
Yeah, I think the main thing we're trying to convince our clients to unlearn is largely around the spaces where you interact with your customer. And I think we've seen marketing change, and it needs to be more human. So go back in the days, probably in the 70s and the 80s, when there were no billboards. There was a time there was no billboards.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Even there was a time there was no TVCs. And people really leveraged word of mouth. But when all these different medium came about, TV, radio, the newspaper, and they worked as well as Wowzi is fresh right now, that's the one thing that we have to help our clients unlearn. Because they always compare. They always compare TV, radio, and Wowzi. And it's a very different space.
It's totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different. Actually, I think even TV can use Wowzi. Media was one of our first clients. So I think that's the major thing. And I think in terms of learning, which has been mentioned by all our fellow panelists, which is authenticity. Joel has mentioned people are on their phone for 8 seconds, you're scrolling. The only time you stop is when it's someone you know or something you like or something that's close to you. And that's something that we've also really learned as well. How can we enable and empower real, authentic content, quality content as well, that's being created. And I think that those will be the 2 points. Yeah.
Okay. So, guys, I want to take out your crystal balls, and I'll explain why. Even as Jeremy was talking about banking, I was like, finally, a person we can truthfully say this in front of, that bank is something we do, not a place we go to, okay, because we do it here. But also, truthfully, money is the fastest moving consumer product in this market. And I know, you looked at Candy as well. Money moves so fast, Literally, on a morning where M-Pesa's not working, you can feel the country rock. We're like, what are we supposed to do? Like we did not know any other way to transact. So here's my question for all of you. And I guess I want to start with Anjoy. What do the next 2 years look like for the way we will be speaking about our products and to our audiences? I see it becoming tighter and tighter and tighter to a point where, very truthfully, you'll have campaigns run by a boda guy. Stivo Boda. That's what I see. I see people like myself will have to adapt and go almost into concierge. there will be no place necessarily for a macro influencer. But what do you think the next 2 years hold for KBL, EABL, for the business today?
Wow, that wasn't on the list of
No,
questions.
yes, it was.
And then it's a tough one. Okay, let me give it a shot.
And it's very important because I still don't think digital disrupts us as we please. The pace is hectic. So if we can't project 2 years forward, we will be grappling. Yeah.
I mean, as we were sitting quietly in our houses, English changed and it became ngumi ni mbwekse and watu ni mambwakni. And, you know, I'm being told, yeah, just look at this content. And I'm like, I don't know what they're saying.
But it's not about you.
Can someone please help me?
Yes.
I'm given a dictionary. I'm like, it's too much work, just pass it. Are you insulting anyone? No? Okay, it's fine. So what is going to change in 2 years? I don't think it's 2 years. I think it's already now, to be honest, right? I'm always within our forums saying that we are a company that delivers alcohol to bars. And forgive me for those who are very Christian, but I think that the bar is where two or more congregate.
Over a drink.
Over a drink. It's no longer, you know, let's go to this physical building called Social House and drink there. You know, it's not. And that, I don't know if we're ready, because we are structured to go to physical locations to have a drink. And we actually, it was already happening, but COVID accelerated it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah? So when I look at the future for KBL, we will have to find people where they are. We are no longer guaranteed that they're going to be in the 40,000 bars that we serve. Wow. The one thing we can always, I think, because human beings are social beings, we'll always want to, regardless of how much, you know, Facebooking and WhatsApping you do, you'll always want to sit, you know, and insult Kendi about bundles to her face, because she's my friend. And that will usually happen over a drink. So that, I think, will continue. Mm-hmm. Socialization will happen. People will want to meet. They'll want to have a drink. The question is, where?
Oh, wow.
I also, in terms of what will the role of alcohol be in socialization, is a question.
Okay.
Because if you look historically, that engagement, that adrenaline that guys get because they're together, I mean, this gaming, if you're in America, legalized marijuana. I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of other ways to expend your energy. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, the question around, so why should I have a drink is going to be fundamental for us. Mm-hmm. And then those who want to have a drink, where are they? That's going to be critical because we'll have to find out where they are. Wow. And that's a big one.
That is brilliant. So we've gone from bank, something we do, not a place we go to, and where two or more are gathered over a drink, that is a bar. It's not a place you go to. I will need to go from Anjoy to yourself, and I'll tell you why. She's crossed, honestly, like the biggest valley ever. A couple of years ago, when Deborah Maloa was at KBL, we could not run your advertising next to Safaricom. And I remember I asked her why. You're not competitive. She said no. Because you can buy airtime in a bar. Anybody with expendable income or has only 100 shillings left at the end of the night, given a choice, will buy airtime before they buy another beer. And now she's saying that she's not sure if in 2 years a drink will be an option. So what does your crystal ball tell you? You blow me away. Could you please give her a round of applause? You're all sitting there saying, what? Candy, what does the future look like? And by the way, you're the one powering it.
Yeah, well, I think when we look at our business, and I think as a brand and as a business, we started very much as a telco brand, right?
Yes.
And then last week we announced our results. And I mean, there's a couple of things. One is telco doesn't exist in the future, right? If you look around the world, because our strong revenue drivers is voice, right? And that's a big driver of our business. But then now you people are all calling each other on WhatsApp and Signal and not calling. So I think first, there are fundamental shifts in business models and business strategy that it has to shift and you have to respond. So as a business, as a brand, we're moving to a tech company. And what does that mean? That means we're about creating platforms for businesses to thrive, for individuals to thrive. So still remaining in our purpose of transforming lives. So an interesting fun fact that I like to, and because Jeremy and bankers are in the room, 80% of transactions are still cash. So with all the M-Pesa transactions, with everything the banks are doing, the opportunity to digitize and to get people into digital platforms when it comes is still 80% of this particular economy. Wow. So the pie is huge. So when it comes to the opportunity for fintechs and growth, that's everywhere. So for me, the big shift is that creating platforms. So how can we get more of that 80% when it comes to money and transactions? How do we continue to build? Because again, another critical part why I'm completely sold to Wowzi is a couple of things. One is if you're doing a campaign, you get your message on Tuesdays, on Monday and Thursday. It's an M-Pesa message. Yeah, we currently pay the influencers.
The 5 million that Dr. Bashir was talking about a week, it's paid, okay.
Most of it, I think a big
Most
chunk
of it.
is M-Pesa, but that's a platform.
Okay.
And that's a platform that's creating a space for Wowzi and all these other people to actually be able to reach their people and to deliver on their business objectives. The second thing, and we just launched a campaign now around talking about Moleke on the internet, and really saying again, this is a business that is run on people being connected to the internet. So the job to be done around really getting as many people as possible to get smartphones, get as many people as possible earning a living, is actually the future of that will help increase and really drive the value, get people to be earning more and economic empowerment through being connected to the internet. So that's another big thing and another big reason shift. So even from a business model perspective, it's about saying how can we get as many people as possible earning and living and transforming their lives by being connected on the internet.
Wow, okay.
Then last but not least, which I think is a really powerful model for the future, is this model, and I talk about marketing spend and marketing spend going to the end user, marketing spend going to the person. I think this is the beginning of a trend that we will continue to see, right? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you love my brand, but if I can also put some money in your pocket as a brand, then that's win-win. Okay. So again, that shift, especially in the industry, we talk about it a lot even with the agencies, about the role of agencies and creative agencies shifting. Yeah, that has to change, and it's going to change in the space of, so a lot of change, but the future is exciting.
It's exciting, which brings me to you. The role of agency changes. What does the next 2 years look like for you? Because if these two are going to be able to achieve what they're looking for, how you go after that is interesting.
Indeed. It's really, really exciting. So the first shift I foresee in the next 2 years, actually it's beginning to happen, is the democratization of the creative economy.
Oh, yes.
From an agency standpoint. What YouTube have done right now globally is that they've put aside a fund for the creators economy. So basically, if you're a content creator of a certain following, YouTube will be paying you to create content. TikTok is doing the same thing. And Facebook talked about, when they rebranded to Meta, they talked about the same thing. So from an agency standpoint, what we are beginning to see is the aggregation of content and creative material, not coming from the agency, but coming from social media users who are content creators. So there's that democratization of creative work coming through. That's the first thing. The second thing that I foresee happening is the fact that as we look at the influencer business model, like what you're running, One of the big things that has been talked about in the past from a media perspective is what is that return on my investment right now? And I touched up on it earlier on. And the opportunity that I foresee here is that commerce is going to move away from social commerce it's going to move away from e-commerce to social commerce, whereby we see these virtual storefronts being set up by consumers themselves who are influencing on behalf of brands. So that will be a new model for return on ad spend, return on investment coming through. Finally, you said 2 years.
2 years.
At the tail end of the second year, watch my words and listen to me keenly. The metaverse is a real thing.
Oh, I believe that.
Okay? Brands are going to start engaging with consumers at a whole different level. People don't realize the power of 5G. When Peter Ndegwa announced 5G is coming,
Oh, the speed.
the speeds,
Yeah.
the level of engagement is going to be a whole different ballgame altogether. What we're beginning to see right now is, I've got 3 daughters, my eldest is 9. She watches other people playing games
Yes.
on the internet.
Yes.
They're streaming, and they're talking to each other. I mean, there's a whole city called Roblox? Roblox. It's such a popular thing. It's a whole economy on its own. And they're getting rewarded massively. If you look at what's happening within the city, what used to be the traditional cyber cafes turned to become, they turned and evolved to becoming betting dens.
Yes.
And now they're evolving to becoming gaming dens. And so with the onset of 5G, gaming is going to be a very big thing. And it's going to be powered primarily by the blockchain technology. And 5G is going to be a big a push for that. And now what brands will need to start doing is starting to create these virtual experiences in that place.
Okay, his crystal ball is clearer than most. Brian, which brings me to you. I believe, if I hear Candy, I hear Anjoy, I hear him about the democratization of content creation. It means, you know, what some of the most powerful people in Kenya are the admins of estate groups. You know, the WhatsApp group, yeah, like a guy who runs your block of apartments, that guy. But I really foresee a future where you will want those guys to be able to send the message that fiber inakuja. And she will not even want, I don't know who, give me about 25 of those guys because we're going into Eastlands. But what does your future look like? Because when I speak to all of them, I can see everything is going down to, I need to reach the person now in their ear, in their face.
And to that point, we do have hundreds of WhatsApp group admins.
Those people
already.
are powerful anyway.
I think a lot of influence will continue to be offline.
Okay.
Even majority of influence today is still offline. If you use the COVID period as an example, yes, digital technology has extremely accelerated. But even if we're on our phones much more, our grandparents are doing dowry negotiations on Zoom. You know, even with that, people still have that need to come together. And that is something that has been in our bones for millions of years. So I do agree with Joel, the metaverse is happening. I see it as a lot of the things that we need and we consume will continue to be more and more closer to us. You know, if you just mentioned the bank is not somewhere you go.
No.
You know, every time you find a place to pick car park and they don't take M-Pesa, you're stranded.
You move
on. You know, in terms of even where you reach your customer, it's going to be much more closer to each other. And I think that speaks on the creator economy. So I think as we go in the next couple of years, how we make decisions on what we purchase, how we trust, blockchain will bring a lot of that together, and how we even consume will be very close around us, either from the people who are next to us or from someone who's in Australia, but he's your best friend and he's next to you. You know? And then
Metaverse is real.
and in the real space of, a lot of, they say history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. Yeah. So if you look at, even if we become much more and more digital, we're still going to have that real core. It's just the how might be a bit different. Your customers have always been your best salesmen,
True.
And as Joel has mentioned, that already happens. I'm sure all of us here have bought something. We all carry out social commerce, by the way. Social commerce is crazy. All of us has bought something because someone.
What's up, did?
Yeah, I know Joel's bag. I know he got convinced by Maurice. There's a lot of things. So I see the products and the way we consume, everything will just continue to be much, much more closer to us. And how we decide also changes. It's going to be much more individualistic and not just when we see one big TVC and we all go, people are consuming content from people who are next to each other and they will make the decision. That's why I think Andre mentioned, people, they talk back.
Yeah, they do.
And I think we're all digital natives, I think, right now, but there's a big wave coming of Gen Z and, I don't know, Gen U or something that will come after that.
You haven't met my 10-year-old.
Those guys,
yes.
They control 84% of household purchase decisions today. So I think we'll all be unraveled. I think that's something to watch as well.
Very true. My final question to the four of you, and I will give you a chance to think about it because I just want to speak to the room, is you've got to define the gig economy because we've talked about our businesses, but part of this conversation, a big part of the reason we're here today, is to understand that the gig economy means a democratization of more than just creative. It's also the most, if we do this right, the most powerful way to employ our youth. And not just our youth, our people. Even the woman who just makes the craziest chapatis in town, that woman staying in phase 5 Buru court number what, can sell more flour for Unga, for Pembe, than billboards can. So please define the gig economy for me. But first, Marianne Daru. Is she here? I know she was here earlier. She has run away? Okay. Brian, Quera? I literally want to hear from the room. 2 years into the future, if you may, when they were speaking, what came to your mind? Or were you nodding there saying, I'm taking notes? By the way, you're allowed. You're allowed to actually say, I was taking notes. I had not seen that far into the future. Mic is working.
It's a bit of an ambush, but anyway.
That is what I am good at.
Interesting discussions. And I think the thing that spoke to me a lot is what Joel said about the metaverse. And I think we've all been trying to think about what does that mean for brands? And then as a continent and as Africa and even Kenya in general, are brands ready for that? Because I think it's something that we've always asked ourselves. I think we've had a discussion with Brian a couple of times on, even from an influencer perspective, the attribution aspect. Because then marketing managers will always ask, so where is my return on investment? How do I ensure that the money I'm spending with you actually came from your influencers? And I think that's where the attribution came in, and I think that's why Wowzi is becoming bigger in this space. So for me, I would think what Joel said about the metaverse, I think that's where we need to start racking our brains around.
That was your nodding moment. You were nodding there. Fred Gidinzi. Is Fred here? And I haven't spoken. Hey, you stopped calling me. Why?
I was trying to hide, Carol.
No. I was sitting here, so I saw you. I wanted to go to, what have you had to, when Dr. Ndemo first, introduced us ages ago, I was still at that point where I didn't really know what we were doing. What have you had to learn really fast, but also unlearn quickly? And you've got to tell the room who you are and what you do. You can't be that guy who knows Karo.
Well, my name is Fred Kipinzi. I'm the founder of Belva Digital, so we sit on the agency side. First off, congrats to Wowzi team. Very wonderful event. I think the question, back to Caroline, she always tells me, no, don't call me Caroline.
My father called me Caroline. You have to call me Caroline.
I think what we've seen quite quickly is the power shifted back to the consumer. In hindsight, agencies were not necessarily the faster ones to it. And we've seen brands and we've seen Safaricom sort of move that power in-house and be able to assist, capture some of these innovations and move quite fast. So I think what we're seeing as agencies is try to adapt quite quickly as well. Try to find our edge, try to find how do we remain relevant in an ever-changing space.
Thank you. Back to my panel. So let's define the gig economy. And the reason I'm saying this is that it doesn't matter how much we read, and I'm thinking I need to go back to school. A new trend, of course, and we're clear, it has emerged in advertising, in communication, which means creating bespoke, unique, digital-only campaigns to an audience whose attention span is that of a banana. I mean, TikTok is serving messages at 30 seconds. If you're at 60 seconds, it's gone too far. You're right about the fact that your daughter is 9, mine is, well, she's 10 going on 32. Nduku's birthday is on the 8th of December. Guess what she asked for? She asked for the Java edition of, what is that thing she plays with? She builds cities on it. It's not Roblox. You see, I'm like you, huh? Minecraft, yes. She wants the Java edition of Minecraft. That's all. I looked it up, 3,000 shillings, fine. Why? I mean, I was fine buying, Let It Go shoes. I was really fine with Elsa and Anna. But right there, she's just changed how we buy gifts. And I asked her, what do you know? She said, no, every time I'm on and we're building because she has a group, my friend Joy said that for my birthday, I should ask my mom to get me the Java edition. See, even I don't know the words. 3,000 shillings is $29.66. So, define gig economy, Kendi.
Great, interesting question. I think when I think about the disruption we're talking about, right? So I think the first thing is that mindset shift of you can work from anywhere.
That thing is scary.
Right? And it was such, funny. So at Safaricom, we've been working from home. And
yes, I was going to ask you, are you back in the building yet?
So this week, we're back on a hybrid model, and there was hue and cry.
Of course.
We're like, no, we're fine, We want to continue working from home because, I mean, and it just shows the people who you call on when you call our customers care, they were at home. And for the last 2 years, they've been operating from home. And just the power of technology and the power of being connected actually frees time and just frees ideas. All of a sudden, there's so many people who, because you are spending 2 or 3 hours commuting to go to work, and if you add it up into a week, into a month, into a year, that time you're doing things that you're passionate about. You can be involved, as an influencer and doing other things in addition to. So it's just, I think that for me, what it speaks to is just freedom and freedom to just do more. Now, what I love about Wowzi and what we've done even with Wowzi, we even leverage our internal staff because as a business we have 6,000 people.
Surely.
Right? Those are 6,000 brand ambassadors who can tell you that we don't steal data. I cannot leave this room without confirming that. We do not steal data. Okay? We do not.
Joy will not let you let it go.
And what happens is you have 6,000 people actually, being ambassadors and actually addressing. So, I laugh at every time I go into a social gathering, I have 10 minutes where I do customer care. How can I help you? Are you on the right bundle? This is what you need data manager, all those things. Okay. So, I mean, all of a sudden now, because of this person who I work at Safaricom, I can actually earn some extra money, right?
Wow.
As part of the Wowzi platform, doing my job and actually pushing the brand, doing my day job.
I love it.
So, gig economy for me speaks to freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I always tell people it's a good time to be an African. it's a good time to be a woman, all the women. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you can actually thrive.
Yes.
You can actually, if you have this great idea, you can actually, get it going and get it done. And the third example I want to leave you with is a practical one, and it's on and it's a Wowzi example of how we connected with young people. So people were saying, you're stealing my bundle, and that's because, I'm on TikTok, and young people especially, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and when you use videos, it consumes more.
Yes.
So we have this platform, and again, it speaks to the future where it's personalized, right? So we have personalized offers. So based on your usage, and that's what Tunukiwa is. Yeah, you go to 444, and based on your usage, we recommend what you should buy for the day, and it's a daily thing. But the young people were not connecting with it.
Yeah.
So what we did is we partnered with Wowzi, and we got now content creators on TikTok. Yeah, because also again, Jaramba is the only person who could have managed this campaign. And he said, look, I think there's an opportunity for us to see how we can drive value, and value is a big objective and a big thing we're trying to do as a brand. Drive value to young people via TikTok, right? And now Mike tells me we're the biggest brand on content creating on TikTok in Kenya as we speak.
Whoa.
And the numbers are
Well
also
done.
showing. So first, the influencers and all these content creators are earning money,
Yes.
Safaricom money, by
Yes.
creating content for us. But more importantly, it's showing up in our numbers. And so it makes sense. It makes business sense for us. It makes business sense for the influencer. It makes business sense for Wowzi. So I think for me, that's
wonderful.
what the gig, when I think about it's exactly.
yeah.
The gig economy is individuals, entrepreneurs and small businesses, big brands, everyone is just benefiting from this freedom of being connected and the freedom that it creates.
Fantastic. And Joy.
Can I say nothing to add?
Well, no.
No, I really love that, Kendi, in terms of freedom and empowerment. I think that's.
Incidental, can we just say, please get the office therapy. You guys have been away too long. I don't even know how you're going to do it.
Yeah. I've been trying to convince my MD that, working from home is not so bad. But yeah, I don't think that's going well. So, just picking up from where Kendi was, if you remember barter trade that we learned in school.
Yes.
Yep, it was a marketplace. You came with your mangoes, I had my tomatoes, and we exchanged because I needed what you had.
Yes.
Right? So for me, the gig economy is just barter trade on steroids on the internet. It just creates a platform where I can get exactly what I want. I don't need a middleman called an agency. I'm really sorry, agency. By agency, I don't mean you, I mean him.
Okay.
You're the platform, you're necessary. But I don't know, seriously, I don't need a middleman to connect me to my buyer.
Yes.
So we ran 2 campaigns, I think Oktoberfest. Historically would have had to buy media, radio, television, a huge outlay to get Oktoberfest going. But what we did was we went to Wowzi. And we're like, okay, we got feedback. See, we listened. We got feedback from the first Oktoberfest campaign that was just in Nairobi. Guys were like, no, now, bring it closer.
Yes.
So we said deconstruct it, and we were insulted again on social media. Because guys were like, no, we just want to go to race course. We were like, COVID is still here, so calm down. We went to Wowzi, we were like, we're doing 38 events across the country in 1 month. We want people to come. Now, I can't do a campaign for a bar in Kakamega, a bar in I can't do that. No. But these guys have the people across the country. And they're telling their pals in their language, come. For Oktoberfest, so everyone's Oktoberfest was their Oktoberfest. They told their artist, they told us, this artist in Kisii
is the guy.
Is the guy.
Yeah.
I want. And that, for me, it's barter trade. Everyone gets what they want. I get people to experience my brand. People get to come and enjoy themselves.
The artist gets a gig.
The artist gets a gig,
yes.
And everyone is happy.
That is gig
So
economy.
for me, the gig economy, we, yes, Joel, you are in the we, are making money or making a living basis what we were taught. We were taught marketing, so now you're making money as a marketer. For me, the gig economy is trading your talent. It is your talent.
It
You're
is my
trading.
cowrie shells. My talent is my cowrie
It is your
shells.
talent. And very quickly, I was told by an executive coach, the all blacks coach said, everybody in the world has something they do the best or top 3. You just need to figure out what it is. You are the best at something in the world. And what the gig economy is doing, trade your talent. By the way, being an influencer is hard work.
Ask me.
My God, the videos, they move. I was told to walk slowly. I'm walking too. I'm like, please, I can't. Let me go and do a brand plan. That's what I'm talented at. But it's about trading your talent, and it provides a platform where the person that needs your talent can see you directly and engage you directly.
Fantastic. You know you will close, because really. So, Joel, gig economy, what does it mean to you?
My answer is not any different from what Kendi and AJ have mentioned. I think for us as a business, we've also had to, to look at the way we handle things in the workplace. So, virtual tools have come in, quite handy. What the gig economy has done for us, especially on the creative side, is we could see the power of democratized creative applied in this market. So, unlike what AJ said, the role of the agency is dead. It's very much alive. It's changing. And to Kendi's point, working on that campaign specifically, we didn't have any concept work from any agency.
Wow.
No creative director, no art director. It was purely from the content creators who came in to create a campaign. And that for me is powerful because, what you do is you get the fisherman doing something.
Yes.
And giving true testimonials of what their brand has really done for them, and it's really clear in that sense. And so for us, that's what we have seen happening. And it's not just on the creation side, on the content creation side, on the creative process. We're beginning to see that now coming through on the commerce side also. So for us, the gig economy means that if Safaricom is going to be pushing a new product in the market, what can I do as a student sitting in Egerton to be able to get my people around me to take up that product? And I get paid for it ultimately, and that's the beauty around it. So the social commerce aspect of that has come to play quite heavily.
Great. Brian, same question, but I'm going to tweak it just slightly because, of course, I only had room for one more question. It's like, are they sold? But they keep talking about you, so they're sold. I met a lady just as we started from Kebs. And a couple of years ago, my business partner and I created a lipstick. I don't know whether you know how many certifications you need to get from Kebs. And my question to you at the gig economy level, just because it's very easy for it to sound like it's at a very, if you look at the pyramid, it's at the base of the pyramid. But when I think about business people who finally find out for the first time that Kebs didn't come to play, they want to know what is the content of this, what did you put here, I'm like, oh my goodness, but some of that is my IP. Is there a place for a CEO somewhere to be able to tell other business people what Kebs requires? Because let me tell you, you guys think KRA is work. Wait until you meet Kebs. Wait until you meet Kebs. And for the gig economy that you've created, where you've created all these communities, does it go above the base of the pyramid? That's my question to you. Or is the gig economy completely, almost just at the first 2 tiers of the pyramid?
I think to answer that
Is
question...
Is a lady from Kebs here? No, she's gone because she was sitting there, but those are her glasses. Oh, I swear, Kebs has about 10 certifications you need. You wait.
I think to answer that question, I'll go back to, I think, one of our real first principles, which is we are all human. I trust people like I like to share. If you look at that principle, that whole triangle you've defined is all humans.
Okay,
so,
true. True.
So that in its essence covers that. I think what Wowzi enables is for that to be local, to be personal. So
Okay.
there are certain campaigns that we're running that actually, if I may say, Betty Mwangi, one of the industry leaders, will be an influencer, but it'll not be the same way the
That I do.
TikToker will
Yeah,
do
or a
it.
TikToker.
Yeah. And if I come back to the gig economy, where we see the gig economy as, formalizing informal work. And that's what really powers economies. And we're not formalizing it in the way Kebs does, do this, do that, do that. Just by connecting and putting the strings that bring the best to the top.
That means the gig economy encompasses everybody from the top
True.
to the bottom of the pyramid.
True. And you can see future of marketing and meeting the future of work, it's now more towards that point. With Wowzi, it's these communities, these unique communities, what you can do them, it's not just push this message. Today we have to vertical, you can also pull messages. And I think
Nice.
agencies will also not go anywhere. I think they will evolve for sure. They've existed the agency model goes way back as well, and it's never gone anywhere. But an example of how they've evolved, I think the Tusker campaign, Max ran a consumer insights campaign on Wowzi across the whole country and asked 1,000 people, how do you say cheers? And that's actually how the Wowzi name came. I can tell you a bit.
I see.
But in 10, 15 minutes, he got like 800 different responses. Even if there were 4 different responses, there were in 800 different languages.
Oh, wow.
And that's the use case that we see also, how things evolve.
Yes.
It's what technology really does is just get rid of the tedious, but it's humans who have to think and do it. So I firmly believe we'll be there. And when we look at the future of work, we're looking now to add different types of jobs. So, a week ago, a big retail company asked us, can we have all the influencers go recruit the nearest kiosk? I think if you know these guys, Market Force, I think there's a lot of that space is really picking up. And what we really do is organize social capital and trust. So I know everyone here has a personal relationship with their closest kiosk, or used to. Yeah. And he trusts you. He will probably sign up much faster when it's you than when it's Market Force. So that's just one different type of job, but there will be a series of
jobs.
very many
Gig
different types of
economy is
things that
not
people
one
can do.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I really would like to bring this to a close. I hope you've been tweeting. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have, learned as much as I have. I need to evolve, that much I know. Whatever it is I started 7 years ago, my first client was KRA. Can you imagine? They asked me to file ITAX and then tell everybody how it went. I said, They said, just do it. And I did. But if you had asked me then if I knew that we would be where we are today, no. But I'm also very open to the fact that it changes every day. If you embrace it, it's a great ride. If you don't, we will pick you up when you're crying, but we'll pick you up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been awesome. Please give my amazing panel a round of applause. Another round of applause, of course, to Wowzi, because they have totally wowed us today. And I would like to ask you to get ready for the metaverse, but more importantly, for the future of work. And if you have friends who work at Safaricom, hold their hand often. Apparently, they're going back into the building. They don't know how that works. The rest of us at least try to go back. Take care. Where is Linda? Oh, there you are. Please come and take over your podium. I've been standing for, I think, an hour. Heels are difficult. Take care.
Thank you so much, Caroline, and our panelists. A great round of applause, people. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, a lot has been said, and you must agree that the conversations that have been held here today must serve as a catalyzing event to further disrupt the influencing space. Now, I know we've been seated for a very long time, so I want us to do a very short but fun activity. Wowzi, the world is trending on Twitter currently, #1 in Kenya. So let's first of all give a round of applause for that. So I want each table to actually take a selfie. So this is to see how social we can be. So each table, please take out your phones. Let's take a selfie, of course, respecting COVID protocols. Let's see which image actually will trend on Twitter. So each table, kindly, the family of Wowzi, please spread yourselves around. Naomi, Victoria, Caroline, let's see which image will trend people. I am not seeing any movements at the back. Please take a selfie. Johnny, I'm seeing you. And you shall be tagging at Wowzi_KE, hashtag Wowzi the world. Guys, let's do this. Let's see who's going to be a trend on Twitter. I'm seeing people, thank you so much. Please use the hashtag Wowzi the world and tag at Wowzi_KE. I'll repeat that. The tag is at Wowzi_KE, hashtag Wowzi the world. Thank you so much, guys. Please take your seats. Hope you're all good. Let's take our seats. And on that good high, I would like to welcome Victoria Mutai, who is the Campaign Success Director at Wowzi, to give us our vote of thanks. Please welcome Victoria. Please, a round of applause for Victoria.
Hi, Caroline. Hi, Caroline. Sanitizer. Hi, good to see you, good to see you. I'm so sorry for texting you on a Sunday morning. I remember Caroline's response, and she was very stern, and her words were, Victoria, it's Sunday morning. What decisions are being made at Absa on a Sunday at 9 a.m.? Which I totally agree. So happy to have you here. Happy to have everyone here today. So mine is going to be more of a storytelling, but also to thank everyone who's participated as a panelist, but also to thank the family and friends of Wowzi, and also our influencers and brands and agencies. So, on behalf of the founders, the leadership, and the greater Wowzi team, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here today to celebrate the milestones we've been able to hit since we switched the Wowzi platform. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together, first and foremost, for our panelists, Joel, AJ, Brian, and Caroline. Thank you for your opinion on the thought-provoking discussion on the future of work. I believe all of you have been taking notes. Caroline was able to engage the audience to see what you thought. So feel free to engage with the tweets and the conversations that are happening on Twitter. Again, hashtag Wowzi the world. To Mr. Awari, who has just left, I'll thank him in absentia for being our keynote speaker today. So at Wowzi, we seek to deliver delight and success. These high ideals are born of a strong belief that we must constantly deliver value to one of our biggest clients, so the brands and the agencies, which most are seated with us here today, and also our influencers. Hi, Kamwari. Hi, Mama's Plate. Thank you for being here today. To the agencies that we approached and believed in us, asante, asante sana. You listened to our crazy ideas, believed in us, and introduced us to our clients. In the few months we have been in the market, we've been able to forge very strategic and meaningful leadership partnerships. Again, thank you very much for that. To the brands, I don't know what to say. Honestly, just know the opportunities you've been able to give the influencers have been profound. I cannot begin to tell you the different stories we get to hear from our influencers. Having to make a call to an influencer in Kisumu and telling them, hey, Guinness would like to partner with you. We are met with tears that big brands such as Safaricom, Absa, EABL want to partner with your regular nano influencer, but also still not excluding, Caroline Motoko and the likes. So thank you for that. I would tell more stories, but Naomi gave me only 2 minutes. So I'll try to stick to the 2 minutes, maybe, not making promises. But also here to say that the power of Wowzi lies in our strong nano base, as well as the special communities we're able to build within our influencer communities, and we would not exist without the influencers and creators we have, but also for the agencies and brands that are able to spend and really put money in the pockets of these influencers. So please accept our sincere gratitudes wholeheartedly for embracing Wowzi and making us celebrate today. I'm also grateful to Brian, our CEO. I met Brian on the very first day they signed the lease at the Wowzi house, and on that same day is the day at iHub. And on that same day, he had just gone to town to purchase laptops, super sharp pencils, and a pencil holder that Hassan donated to our office because we were just moving in and barely had any stationery. And I remember then Brian was just introducing the idea, but he wasn't directly telling us what it is we were building. So for close to a year, I had not told my family because Brian constantly told us not to tell anyone that we're building something that's bigger than all of us, which it is, and we've heard him use the exact same words today. So for a whole year, my family thought I was fronting, and I didn't achieved. And thank you, Brian, for the constant support and eye on the goal and that same reminder. Hi, Mike. Mike is he's a great seller. Trust you me, he can sell you the oxygen you're breathing here in this room. But also Mike is the most calm person I know in the most tense situation. In the business we operate, anything can happen anytime. Having to work with thousands of influencers in the same day means there are also risks associated with that. So sometimes we have fires that we need to put out, and in those cases when everyone is running around, Mike is there to calm us down and help us really think through the situation. Not only that, he's also again a great mentor. He recently got engaged, so congratulations. Congratulations, Mike. So really thank you, Mike, for helping grow the business, for bringing in all the partners you've been able to. He's really great at relationships, for always engaging with the creatives and really putting yourself forward ahead of the business. So thank you for that. To Bashir, I'll never forget the many stories you've shared with us. I especially remember the one where you first tasted or ate a mango. So if Bashir hasn't told you that story yet, please be sure he tells you, among many other stories. Bashir, he's a mentor, he's a good listener, he's a great learner, but also enjoys good food. So if you're ever at Ankole, get him, is it the chicken wrap? The chicken wrap from Ankole. But also Bashir's wife is an amazing cook. We've been fortunate to be hosted at their place for lunch. I still dream about the rice and the crispy fried onions and the goat stew and the goat fry. I'm so really looking forward to the potluck we're having on the 11th. Whoop, whoop. Thank you, Bashir, for constantly supporting us, for leading the leadership team, for always providing great advice, and for always introducing us to amazing people, and for just putting up with the young, crazy lot that we are. So now, to peace. We all know that the entrepreneurship journey is often said to be a lonely one, but for our founders, it's been marked by understating family and friends. Frida, we know that Mike has had to cancel several dates that you've had to plan weeks because Jaramba calls and tells Mike, hey, I need this proposal for this midnight data deal that needs to go live ASAP. And you make him coffee and pat him on the back. Go, honey, I'm behind you. Mama Brian, hi. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being an unpaid therapist in this incredible journey, for listening to him as he narrates his daily struggles, and also the silent prayers that you make for him and being his biggest cheerleader. It is seen and it's appreciated, and I hope you are proud of him as he has made you proud. So thank you for that. Sorry. Naturally, also, the team has grown from a party of, oops, sorry, someone's calling at the wrong time. Naturally, the team has grown from a party of 6 to over 30, spread across the continent and also in Europe. I want to express my gratitude. Wowzi team, wherever you are. Hi. Hi, Eddie. Hi, Wakio. Hi, Naomi. I want to express my deep gratitude to my teammates, past and present, for being the engine behind the idea. Ladies and gents, the Wowzi team are troopers on the ground. For the late nights where we have 7 people working on a deck, to the Friday evenings where we enjoy a good G&T and chicken wings, we've been a great and continue to be a great support for each other to be able to deliver quality to our clients. Again, our agencies, brands, and influencers, all of you who are seated here today. So thank you. Finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of the event. Hi, Rita. Hi, Mudhoni. The wheel started rolling weeks ago, which requires a lot of planning and attention to detail. We've been fortunate enough to be backed with a team of very motivated and motivated colleagues of Wowzi, Naomi, Judith, and Wakio. Special appreciation to you. And also the Gogaga team, led by Rita and Mudhoni, who really understood the assignment, and everything was planned to the detail. Thank you so much. I want to finally extend my thank you to all of you. Thank you for being here once again. And I hope it's not too early to say this. Have a merry holiday and a happy new year. Thank you.
Much, Victoria. Now, I think we can learn a thing or two when we have to give our Grammy speeches or Oscar awards. That's how you say thank you to everyone. So thank you so much, Victoria. And it's a wrap. It's been an amazing morning. I hope you have enjoyed, you have networked, and if you haven't had enough, after this session, you can be able to spend a little bit of more time just getting to know who is seated with you or who is among us today before you head out to the next session starting at 11 a.m. on the 4th floor, and it will be on website optimization by the founder and CEO of .Savvy. So don't you think it's a good time to say it's a wrap? Thank you so much, Wowzi. And please feel free to network. Behind us, we have a new technology, let me call it that, called the 360 camera. If you've seen it on social media, this is your time to actually experience it. So thank you so much to everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.